The grievance procedure is central to the efficient, orderly, and fair resolution of workplace disputes. The grievance procedure benefits employers, unions, and employees by identifying and resolving underlying problems, ensuring the consistent application of personnel policies, and providing employees with the rights to have a hearing, be assisted by an advocate, and present evidence in their defense. The grievance procedure introduces accepted standards of justice into the workplace. The purpose of this program is to both increase your understanding of the grievance procedure in a unionized workplace and to demonstrate the technical and interpersonal skills needed by supervisors and stewards to effectively resolve grievances and manage the labor management relationship. Grievances have many sources. Grievances arise when an employee or the union claim a violation of contract language, federal, state, or municipal employment law, past practice, management policies and procedures, fair treatment. In the case to follow, we will see how a supervisor and a steward handle a grievance involving discipline for absenteeism. While arbitrators generally agree that chronic or excessive absenteeism is just cause for discipline, the real problem is to determine when absenteeism is excessive. As we will see, this also requires an understanding of the Family Medical Leave Act. In this scene, Frank Perry, a supervisor at Champion Manufacturing, meets with employee Bobby Lucas, a production operator, to discuss his absenteeism. Let's see how Frank handles this.
Hey Frank, is there a problem?
Can I see it for a second?
Well, Bobby, I just met with the superintendent and he is not happy. We've got a major shipment due out tomorrow and we're way behind. You're a key person on this project and it really throws everything off when you call in like you did yesterday.
Well, like I said when I called in, I was in a car accident.
You're one of the best workers in the department. All right, I appreciate how hard you work when you're here, but according to my records, you now have 10 points for absences and tardiness. Now, company policy states that 10 points in a year and you get your second written warning and a one-day suspension. You just got your first written warning last month when you hit 9. We all depend on you, Bobby. When you're out, it really slows us down and increases the workload on everyone else. Now, I know things happen, but in order to be fair to everyone, I've got to go by the book. You know, one more unexcused absence and you're looking at a final warning and a 3-day suspension. The next step after that is termination.
This isn't fair.
We can talk later. Right now, I need you to get to work.
I want my steward in on this.
Fine, I'll make sure Pat's here.
What did Frank do well? Is there anything he should have said or done differently? In this case, Frank is taking disciplinary or corrective action. Disciplinary action is a process of communication to improve performance. As such, it is often a difficult conversation. Frank uses this opportunity to provide Bobby feedback regarding his absences. Frank clearly identifies the behavior at issue, its effect on the workplace, and the likely consequences to him if it continues. He does this without making any personal attacks or judgmental statements. Even though it is a difficult conversation, the supervisor's professional tone helps promote a respectful relationship and increases the likelihood of a positive outcome. As we will see later, it's important to allow the employee ample opportunity to explain the situation to help avoid misunderstanding and potential conflict. You may also have noticed that Bobby requested his steward. He is exercising his Weingarten rights. Employees have the right to have a steward present during investigatory meetings with management that could result in discipline. The steward has the right to know the subject of discussion and to meet with the employee ahead of time. The supervisor, Frank, acts in accordance with Bobby's Weingarten rights. He contacts the steward, Pat Johnson, and provides her an opportunity to meet with Bobby before questioning begins. Here they are now in the break room.
Your supervisor told me we're meeting in a few minutes to discuss your absenteeism. What's going on?
He's on my back about being out yesterday. It's ridiculous. It was an emergency. I was in a car accident. I've been here over 10 years. I've never been treated like this. Frank's been here not even 2 years and he's all over me for stupid stuff. He wants to suspend me. I can't believe this.
Well, management's been coming down hard on absenteeism. They're taking this new policy very seriously. People are being fired once they hit 12 points.
Are you telling me there's nothing you can do? You mean I've been paying union dues for over 10 years and this is what I get? A crappy contract and a do-nothing steward?
How effectively did Pat communicate with Bobby? How would you respond to Bobby?
Sounds like you're really angry about this.
Well, you got that right.
I understand. You've worked hard for this company for a long time. I'd probably feel the same way if I were in your shoes.
Well, can the union do anything about this? That's what I want to know.
What I can do is start investigating, make sure management is doing what they're supposed to do and not violating your rights. Now, we only have a few minutes before we meet with Frank, but I'd like to ask you a few questions. And if we need to, we can always talk again later. Tell me, when were you hired in?
10 years ago last Tuesday.
Have you been written up before?
Yeah.
What for?
Coming in late and being absent.
How many times have you been absent?
Just a few times. He says I got 10 points in late absences.
Do you?
I don't know. I think so, but I couldn't help it. It wasn't like I took off for the fun of it. Hell, I need the money.
Why were you out?
My car kept breaking down. I had to keep taking it to the shop. And one time my basement flooded and I waited all day for a plumber.
Were they all unexcused absences?
Well, that's what he said.
Did you receive a verbal and first written warning yet?
I got the first written a few weeks ago when we had that big storm. That's when my basement flooded. Just before that, I got a verbal after my car broke down for the umpteenth time.
Did you grieve the verbal and first written warning?
No.
Are there any other write-ups I should know about?
I got a bunch of points for tardiness a few months ago, only because of all the road construction, you know?
Oh yeah, I know the construction's been bad. Were you written up for anything else?
No, I don't think so.
So you haven't gotten any complaints about your job performance?
No, I always get my work done, no complaints.
So what I hear you saying is you were out yesterday and your supervisor says you now have 10 points. You've already gotten a verbal warning and you got your first written warning a few weeks ago. But you think this last absence shouldn't count as unexcused since it involved an accident. Is that right?
Well, yeah, and I bust my butt for this company. I can't believe they can't give me a break. I can't believe they're talking about firing me.
Did Frank say he'd fire you?
He said if I got 2 more absences, he could fire me.
Well, let's go see what he has to say. He's probably waiting for us. Any questions before we go in?
Why did the union agree to this kind of policy?
It wasn't something the union wanted. We agreed to it and the members voted for it, but in exchange we got a stronger job security language. That was the #1 thing the members wanted in the contract. Cutting absences was one of management's top demands.
Okay, I guess I see.
Now when we meet with Frank, he'll ask more questions, so just try to keep your answers short and to the point. Don't be surprised if he gives you a write-up and a day off, all right? Be prepared for it. And try not to get upset. I wouldn't want you to say something that'll make things worse.
So you think he'll write me up?
I don't know for sure. I just don't want you caught off guard. Now, we can't stop management from writing you up, but what we can do is challenge the discipline through the grievance procedure. Well, why don't we go see what Frank has to say? We can always meet afterwards and figure out our next steps.
Fine with me. I just want to get this over with.
Pat uses her time with Bobby wisely. She begins her investigation, asks key questions to more fully understand his situation, and documents this information in writing while the facts are still fresh. She also prepares Bobby for the investigatory meeting with Frank by explaining what he should expect and how best to respond. By using active listening skills, Pat is able to address Bobby's anger and demonstrate the union is taking his case seriously. Before the meeting with Bobby and Pat, Frank takes some important steps. He reviews relevant documentation such as the personnel file, the call-in log, attendance records, and company policy. He checks in with labor relations to make sure all of his bases are covered and to alert them to the situation. Here, Frank uses the arbitration standard known as the 7 tests of just cause as a guide to evaluate possible discipline. Before issuing discipline, a supervisor should answer affirmatively to 7 tests. Was the employee notified of the rules and consequences of breaking the rule? Is the rule reasonably related to the operation of the business? Has management conducted an investigation before issuing discipline? Was the investigation conducted fairly and objectively? Is there substantial proof that the employee is guilty as charged? Are the rules being applied even-handedly? Is the degree of discipline reasonably related to the seriousness of the offense?
Yep, that's consistent with my records. Well, it looks cut and dried. He's racked up 10 points in the last 9 months. None coded FMLA. Yep, he received the first written warning 3 weeks ago and was warned that another point meant a written and 1-day suspension. Yeah, I'll be meeting with him before I issue any discipline. He's coming in with his steward now. Talk to you later. Thanks for your help. Have a seat. Well, I assume you've had a chance to talk?
Yes, a few minutes ago.
Well, I've talked with labor relations. According to our records, you've accrued 10 points in absences and tardiness over the last 9 months. Let's see, we have here you were out January 20th, February 16th, April 10th, July 28th, and August 17th, and yesterday, September 6th. You were also late more than 30 minutes 4 times, and late more than 5 minutes 8 times. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you remember seeing this written warning on August 18th?
Yeah.
You received it after accruing 9 points.
Yeah, I remember, but like I told you, we had that big storm. My basement flooded, and I waited all day for a plumber.
I know we talked about that, but we still expected you to get to work. We also talked about the fact that another unexcused absence would lead to a written warning and 1-day suspension.
It wasn't my fault I missed work yesterday. Why isn't that excused?
Well, missing work due to car trouble is not considered an excused absence.
It wasn't just trouble, it was an accident.
When did this happen?
Yesterday morning before my shift, my car was messed up.
I understand that, Bobby, but we still expect you to get to work, even if you can't use your car, even if you're late. Now, according to our records, on December 11th of last year, you received the new absentee policy that states that the accumulation of more than 7 points in a year will result in discipline. And once you hit 10 points, you're supposed to get a written reprimand and 1-day suspension. 2 more points, you could be terminated. Is there anything else you have to say? If not, you will be given a written warning and 1-day suspension. Your day off will be next week, Tuesday.
You know, this is wrong. I can't believe you're doing this to me after all the stuff I do around here. You know what I should do?
What should the stewards say or do at this point? What should the supervisors say or do?
Bobby, I can understand why you're upset. Why don't we take a short break,
That's fine with me. I think we'd all use a short break.
When anyone receives discipline or faces the loss of a job, it's natural to feel anger. Sometimes these emotions can result in loud outbursts. Responding in a firm but a non-threatening manner will help to de-escalate this behavior. Specifically, it is helpful to maintain a calm voice and demeanor. Speak and move slowly, and refrain from yelling back, making threats, pointing fingers, or using any other body language that could be perceived as threatening. Bobby receives a second written warning and a 1-day suspension for accumulating 10 points in absences. Pat arranges for a meeting later that day to further investigate his case. She will need to ask the 5 W's of investigation, apply the principles of active listening, and document relevant facts in writing.
I just can't believe this is happening. First the accident, now this.
Exactly what happened?
I was driving my daughter Ellie to daycare, and this car goes through a red light and broadsides us. It scared me to death.
Was anyone hurt?
Not seriously, thank God.
And when did this happen?
Yesterday morning around 6 o'clock.
How's your daughter doing?
Her wrist is broken and she strained her neck. She had a concussion too. I spent all day with her at the hospital. I didn't leave till 5 this morning.
That must have been horrible for you and her.
And now I have to worry about losing my job. Do you think I have a chance to fight this?
The company's been a lot stricter with this new absentee policy. Believe me, you're not the only one getting written up. But let me ask you a few questions. You said your daughter was in the hospital because of this accident. Was she admitted?
Yeah, she had emergency surgery on her wrist, and they were worried about a closed head injury.
Is she all right?
Thank God it's only a mild concussion, but they kept her overnight for observation and some tests. You know she's only 4 years old.
Why didn't you say anything about this before?
I did. I told Sam Haglin, the third shift supervisor, when I called in yesterday. I told him I was in a car accident and my daughter was hurt and having trouble seeing. I told him that we were going to the hospital. He said he let Frank know. But hell, what difference does it make anyway? It seems like the company doesn't care what the reason is.
Well, I think you may be covered under the Family Medical Leave Act. Have you ever used FMLA?
Years ago when my wife was really sick, but I thought you had to put in papers ahead of time and be out more than 3 days or something like that.
No, you can also use FMLA for medical emergencies like your daughter. Now, you had no way of knowing this would happen, so it was impossible for you to put in for it ahead of time. But what you've got to do is let management know as soon as you can that your daughter had a medical emergency and that you were taking care of her.
You mean if I let management know I was with my daughter in the hospital, they can't write me up and suspend me?
I want to double check with the union office, but that's my understanding. As long as you've worked the minimum hours in the last 12 months and haven't used up your 12 weeks of FMLA.
I haven't used any FMLA this year.
Why don't you write a short note telling Frank you were out because you were taking care of your daughter while she was in the hospital? Now, even though you've already told the third shift supervisor, writing it down just makes things a lot clearer.
Well, if you think it'll help.
I'll make a copy and give Frank the note then tomorrow morning. I'm coming in early to talk with the third shift supervisor. Hopefully we can get this resolved. Will you be around tomorrow?
Oh, no doubt. I don't want to get fired.
Well, why don't we meet here during first break? Will 9 o'clock work?
Yeah, that'll work.
See you in the break room at 9 o'clock.
The steward's role is to conduct a full investigation and to try to settle the grievance at the first level of the grievance procedure. Pat is an employee advocate, and in order to represent effectively, she should be familiar with relevant contract language, workplace policy and practices, as well as applicable employment law. It is important that stewards and supervisors understand how the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, applies to situations involving absenteeism. Under FMLA, eligible employees who miss work due to a serious health condition or that of an immediate family member and who give proper notification cannot have the absence counted towards discipline. This includes both scheduled absences and unplanned medical emergencies. Pat checks in with the union office, collects the note from Bobby notifying Frank he was out for an FMLA qualifying reason, and she talks with the third shift supervisor, Sam Haglin. In this scene, Pat continues her investigation by talking with Frank. As a representative of the union, the steward has the legal right to be treated as an equal by management and to be provided with information relevant to the investigation.
Morning, Frank. Glad you could meet first thing. I want to talk about Bobby Lucas.
Sure, what's up?
Were you aware that his daughter was in the hospital because of that accident?
No, this is the first I've heard of it. Why didn't he say anything?
Well, he said he told Sam Haglin, the third shift supervisor. Bobby thought Sam passed the message on to you. Well, I talked to Sam. He said there was a bad cell phone connection with a lot of noise. He couldn't make out what Bobby was saying except something being wrong with the car.
The only thing I saw about it was a notation on the call-in sheet that said he was out due to car trouble.
Well, I asked Bobby to write a note explaining why he was out. Here it is. He was taking his 4-year-old daughter to daycare and was broadsided. She was admitted to the hospital. He was with her the whole time. That's why he missed work.
It's terrible. Is she okay now?
Yes, I think she's okay now.
Well, I wish I'd known earlier. He'll have to get the hospital to fill out the FMLA certification form.
I'd like to get this off his record before he serves that one-day suspension. He needs the pay, and the suspension will mess up his overtime eligibility.
Let me talk to Labor Relations, and I want to talk with Sam, too. The suspension is scheduled for Tuesday. Why don't we meet Monday? Will both of you be around?
I'll be here, and I expect Bobby will be too. Oh, Frank, I also need to see yesterday's call-in sheet and Bobby's personnel file.
Well, I can give you the personnel file, but I can't give you the call-in sheet.
Can I get a copy?
Sure, no problem.
Can you have them ready by my last break at about 1 o'clock?
Shouldn't be a problem. I'll have the folks in the front office have them for you by then.
Great, thanks.
Maintaining a positive working relationship is extremely important for supervisors and stewards to handle grievances effectively. In this scene, Pat respectfully asks questions and delivers information in a face-saving manner. Frank is not overly defensive and is receptive to this information. He also takes proper action, including setting up the grievance meeting before Bobby loses pay in order to resolve the matter as quickly and easily as possible. Understanding each party's rights to access information is an important part of handling a grievance. In this situation, Pat exercises her right under labor law to access employer-held information. Collecting relevant documents is part of her responsibility as steward to conduct a complete investigation. Under FMLA, management has the right to obtain medical certification, verifying a serious health condition. Before the grievance meeting, it's important that Pat meets with Bobby to update him on the investigation, prepare him for the meeting, and collect any missing information or documentation. In this scene, Pat meets with Bobby soon after concluding her meeting with Frank.
I met with Frank. We're meeting Monday morning to talk about your call-in and if they'll count it as FMLA. Now, what would really help is if you could get this certification form filled out before then.
You mean get a doctor's note?
No, it's more than that. Under FMLA, you can be required to get this certification form completed.
Oh, okay.
Now, we need to have your daughter's health care provider fill this out, and by law, you've got 15 days to get it back. Under the circumstances, it would probably be a good idea to get this in before your suspension on Tuesday. Can you get it in by Monday for our meeting with Frank?
I don't know. I'll try to see my daughter's doctor after work today.
Oh, I also talked with Sam Hagelin, the third shift supervisor.
What'd he have to say?
He said he got your call, but it was a bad connection. He couldn't make out anything you were saying except something being wrong with your car, so he wrote down on the call-in sheet that you had car trouble. You know, he never talked to Frank. Frank didn't know about your daughter until I told him today.
Shoot, I thought he knew and was just playing hardball.
Frank's also talking to Sam and Labor Relations before we meet on Monday. In the meeting, it's probably a good idea to let me do all the talking. If you need to say something, just let me know. Tap me on the shoulder and we'll go take a walk, okay? I don't expect any problems. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Sounds fine with me.
Why don't we meet early Monday morning before work and touch base? Are you able to come in a little earlier?
I can arrange it.
Why don't we meet in the break room, let's say 6:45?
I'll be there.
Do you have any questions?
Not that I can think of right now.
If you do, let me know.
What did Pat do to prepare Bobby for the grievance meeting? How effective was the communication process? In order to build trust, it's important that the steward communicate regularly with a grievant. Without this communication, a grievant will often assume the worst and become discouraged. Before any grievance meeting, a steward should meet with the grievant to review the facts of the case, explain management's position, prepare him for the meeting by describing what to expect and how to best respond, obtain or assist the employee in obtaining the necessary documentation, and answer any questions that the grievant might have. In this scene, Pat, Frank, and Bobby come together for the first step grievance meeting. In cases involving discipline, since the employer has the burden of proof, he typically speaks first. If a case has been investigated well, the first step meeting is an opportunity to discuss all relevant facts and attempt to reach a just resolution. Let's see how things go.
Hi, Pat. Morning, Bobby.
Morning, Frank. Thanks for meeting so soon.
Well, I spoke with Melanie in Labor Relations. Let me take a few minutes to tell you exactly what she said. She told me that if Bobby has accrued 10 points for unexcused absences and tardiness, that the company is certainly within its rights to issue a written warning and one-day suspension. Now, that's the information I had last week when I gave you that discipline. Now, the key word here is unexcused. According to our policy, all time off not covered under medical leave, workers' comp, bereavement, or FMLA are considered unexcused. But it appears, Bobby, that your last absence may have been FMLA qualifying.
It's the union's position that the absence is covered by FMLA and therefore shouldn't be counted toward discipline. Although you weren't made aware of it at the time, Bobby's daughter was taken into the hospital and he was taking care of her. And he had his daughter's doctor complete these FMLA certification papers. Now, as you can see, the doctor has indicated that Bobby was out last Thursday because he was caring for his daughter after she was admitted into the hospital.
Okay, well, I hope your daughter's doing better. I'm sorry to hear she was hurt.
Thanks. She's feeling better.
Well, since this is an FMLA-covered absence, I suppose we can tear up your write-up and rescind the one-day suspension.
Okay by me.
Bobby, I just have one question. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner?
I didn't think it'd make a difference. Besides, you didn't ask.
It seems that this entire discipline and grievance process could have been avoided if Frank had asked the right questions in the beginning before issuing discipline. Let's go back in time and see what could have happened if Frank had handled things a little differently.
Well, Bobby, I just met with the superintendent and he's not happy. We've got a major shipment due out tomorrow and we're way behind. You're a key person on this project and it really throws everything off when you called in like you did yesterday.
Well, like I said, when I called in, I was in a car accident.
What happened?
When I was taking my daughter to daycare before work, we were broadsided.
Oh, that's terrible. Is everything okay?
Well, my daughter broke her wrist. They had to perform emergency surgery, and she banged her head up pretty badly. They thought she had a closed-head injury, but thank God it was only a mild concussion. I spent all day and night with her at the hospital.
Oh, is she okay now?
I think so.
Oh, good, I'm glad to hear that. By the way, it sounds like your absence might be covered by the Family Medical Leave Act.
As you can see, asking key questions and listening with an open mind is critical to effective resolution. Although the grievance procedure is an important tool to ensure rules are fairly enforced, most would agree that getting the issue resolved before it becomes a grievance is in everyone's best interest. There are times when stewards may be asked to represent someone who they think was given a legitimate write-up. What should a steward do in such a circumstance? In our next scene, we'll see how Pat responds in such a situation.
Hey, Pat, can we talk?
Yeah, what's going on?
Frank stopped by my line this morning. He says he wants to meet me after lunch.
Do you know why?
He said something about me being absent yesterday.
What happened?
I got into a fender bender yesterday. I rear-ended someone who stopped short, and it took the cops over an hour to get there. By the time I got my car towed, I'd already missed 4 hours of work.
Was anyone hurt?
No, not this time.
Why didn't you come in late?
Well, the company policy says missing more than 4 hours work counts the same as missing the whole day. I didn't think it'd make a difference.
You know you'll probably get a write-up and a day off.
But I couldn't help it. It's not like I wanted this to happen.
I can understand how you feel, but I expect management will probably consider this absence to be unexcused. It's not covered under FMLA, medical leave policy, or workers' comp. And they're in a strong position of making the written warning and one-day suspension stick. Now, if you want, I'll go with you when you meet up with Frank, but I expect he'll be issuing discipline.
You don't think he might reconsider after all I've been through?
Why don't we meet up with Frank and see what he has to say? Just give me a minute so I can find someone to cover for me, okay?
Even though Pat may feel justified in refusing representation, the union has a legal obligation to represent members fairly. This is known as the duty of fair representation. The union must conduct an investigation and make a good faith effort to determine the merit of the case based upon its findings. Here, Pat does not refuse representation. She is empathetic, but also gives an honest assessment of what she sees as the probable outcome. If the steward has built a trusting relationship with the members she represents, they are more likely to accept her assessment, even if it's not what they want to hear. In this scene, Pat accompanies Bobby to the investigatory meeting. Let's see what happens.
Bobby, glad to see you could make it, Pat. According to company records, Bobby, you now have 10 points for unexcused absences and tardiness under the company policy. It's my understanding that you missed work yesterday due to a car accident. Is that right?
Yeah, some guy in front of me slammed on his brakes, and before I knew it, I rear-ended him. We waited over an hour for the police, and my car had to be towed.
Was anyone hurt?
Nope.
Why didn't you come in late?
I figured since I was late more than 4 hours anyway, what difference did it make? It counts the same whether I missed 4 hours or 8. I thought I'd just stay home and figure out how to get to work the next day.
As you know, according to company policy, 10 points results in a written warning and 1-day suspension. I have here you received your first written warning last month, which clearly states that another absence or point would lead to a second written warning and 1-day suspension. Do you remember receiving this?
Yeah.
And we just talked about it again a couple weeks ago. You understand that another unexcused absence or point could result in a final written warning and that 2 more absences could mean termination? I sincerely do not want that to happen. Do you think you can go without another unexcused absence?
I hope so.
Frank, you understand Bobby couldn't leave the scene. If he did, he'd have faced prosecution. It's not his fault the police took so long to get there.
I hear what you're saying, but it sounds to me like Bobby was at fault for the accident. I also would have appreciated it if he'd made some sort of effort to come to work yesterday. The rules are clear. I really don't have much of a choice. I'm giving you a written warning with 1-day suspension because you have accumulated 10 points in the past year. I hope this will be the last absence for a while and we can get back on track. You're one of our best workers. I don't want to lose you.
It is Frank's role to ensure that Bobby understands company policies and procedures. Although it is not always easy, a supervisor is also responsible for ensuring rules are enforced fairly and consistently. Progressive discipline provides employees fair warning and also allows them an opportunity to meet company expectations. When issuing progressive discipline, a supervisor should review the employee's record, the policy, and the consequences of further violations with the employee. Pat should check in with Bobby after an investigatory interview or disciplinary meeting. Let's see how things go.
Do you have any questions about what happened in the meeting?
I don't think this is fair. I had a good reason for missing work.
I understand, but management's followed all the steps. It's technically not an excused absence, and they can show they warned you ahead of time. I don't think we'll have much of a chance getting it out of your file.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'll have to bite the bullet on this one and watch my driving.
Well, let me know if you have any other questions or if I can help.
Thanks, Pat.
If a supervisor has consistently enforced legitimate work rules, properly warned an employee of the consequences of violating that policy, and has the documentation to prove it, management is more likely to be perceived as fair and more likely to prevail in the grievance procedure. A union steward establishes credibility and gains the members' confidence when they demonstrate knowledge of relevant contract language, policy, and law, listen and respond with empathy, investigate thoroughly, and strongly advocate for employees. As a result, members are more likely to accept a steward's assessment of a grievance, even if it's not what they want to hear. As you have seen, there's a lot to handling grievances effectively. Let's review the lessons learned. The grievance procedure provides for the efficient, orderly, and fair resolution of workplace disputes. Understanding the roles of both stewards and supervisors in enforcing company policy and processing grievances reduces misinterpretation and conflict. Both supervisors and stewards are obligated to conduct thorough investigations. Stewards have a moral and legal duty to represent members fairly. They have a legal right to be treated as equals to management when representing members and to access company-held information related to contract enforcement. When supervisors enforce company policy in a fair and consistent manner, discipline is less likely to be contested or overturned. Respectful and clear interpersonal communication skills, such as active listening, questioning, and feedback, facilitates dispute resolution and promotes positive working relationships. The Family Medical Leave Act prohibits disciplining eligible employees who are absent from work for qualifying reasons. Management can require proper notification and verification from an employee. Settling disputes at the earliest possible stage saves time and energy and is more likely to lead to a mutually acceptable and practical resolution. This also builds employee confidence in the stewards' and supervisors' leadership abilities.